Hey everybody, welcome back to the Comic Wall. It's your girl, the Outcast Angel, and today let's talk about issue 4 of Nick Spencer's The Amazing Spider-Man. Now, jumping in, we kind of get a little more on that little elephant poacher, I guess, thing going on that's been going on in the last couple issues. And so we see, as we saw last time, this guy shot down an elephant in a cowardly way of trying to be a hunter, and his guide ended up getting killed by some unknown enemy. And so now we see the hunter running through the jungle trying to get away. He trips, falls, of course, the classic horror movie deal, and we see him look up at someone, but then that's it. So obviously this is something that's going to be just an ongoing thing as the issues go on, but I'm pretty sure as issue 5 rolls around, we're probably going to see like what's going on. Anyway, we jump to this computer monitor where we see Spider-Man riding the Tri-Sentinel, which, as we saw last time, the Tri-Sentinel is back. And we found out more about the side effects that Peter and Spider-Man are probably going to be, experiencing as a result of being exposed to the isotope genome accelerator. So what we've learned now is that not only has it split like pretty much their personalities, but it's also split their sense of, as the whole idea of the Amazing Spider-Man circles around, the idea of power and responsibility. So obviously Spider-Man has the power, but Peter has the responsibility. And so now we have a very reckless Spider-Man who has obviously no idea of responsibility, And here we see an old enemy who is not very happy, and turns out this is Mendel Strom, one of Spider-Man's, oldest enemies, and but obviously not his worst, as he kind of makes himself sound worse than it is. And the most hilarious thing, he's so pissed about Spider-Man commandeering the Tri-Sentinel that he ends up looking for some kind of disc that has an instructional video. And this is a legit thing. This is a legit thing that has a woman describing on how to I guess control your Tri-Sentinel. And turns out they tried to mass produce these things in order to create a weapon of mass destruction. And so I just thought that was the most hilarious thing. Anyway, turns out we get more backstory on him. He was Norman Osborn's partner and even created the Goblin Serum. But then he and Osborn had a falling out, imagine that, which led to his imprisonment and eventually his death. He keeps coming back, each time with a code name and costume that's a little more try-hard than the last. And so that's just hilarious. So obviously he's going to be a bit of a problem in the coming issues, maybe. I mean, Mysterio was the problem of the first issue, and he got taken out pretty easily. Anyway, now we see Spider-Man and the Tri-Sentinel crashing in on what was supposed to be a burglary at a art, expo, like I forgot what it's called. Essentially an art show. Obviously, Spider-Man's having no problem, making things worse. Essentially, he's helping, but he's not doing a good job of it. Like here we see him crashing in at the art show and destroying more than half of the art that he was trying to save, or supposed to save. And then we see a little spread here of him fighting Stegron, Hydra Man, and Cyclone, and he's not putting up a fair fight. I mean, he's not even fighting. He has the Tri-Sentinel kicking everyone's butt and going a little overkill. As a matter of fact, I mean, he's just a little too overpowered now. And and here we see Peter watching the news of Spider-Man and the Tri-Sentinel, and he's pretty jealous, obviously, and obviously upset because he knows, like, you know, the new Spider-Man is kind of ruining his old, I guess, reputation as Spider-Man, and so, you know, he feels powerless, ironically, as to being able to do anything about it. And then we see here Aunt May. He's actually sitting with Aunt May, and she's trying to, you know, help him feel better, but she ends up giving him a birthday card that has a check for him for like rent and for you know, just giving him some extra money. And this is surprising because, I mean, of course, you know, Peter doesn't want to take this, but Aunt May turns out is a pretty good online poker player, so, you know, she's won a good amount. But during this thing, we see how Peter has been trying to, you know, be, you know, a friendly neighborhood good Samaritan, I guess, and you know, trying to help people out, but not exactly, you know, no good deed goes unpunished. You know, that's essentially what's happening here. And so while, you know, Peter's struggling to, you know, do the right thing, we see Spider-Man over here having the time of his life, like here sitting courtside at basketball games, chatting it up with celebrities. And then here is the funny part where he's like even cashing in with big endorsement deals. And funny thing here, we actually see him sporting a Burger Mart badge, and off to his left shoulder we see the Viltrum Empire insignia on his shoulder. And I just think that's hilarious, especially with Ryan Ottley being the artist of this series. You know, just seeing the little invincible throwbacks there is pretty awesome. Essentially, I got a good laugh out of that. Anyway, as Peter's making his way out, we see him pulling up his phone to try and get like an Uber or a ride, you know. And turns out there's a new app called Uber Hero, in which Spider-Man is taking people on rides for money. So, wow. Anyway, we see here Peter catches up to Spidey and tries to, you know, get a ride from him and try to talk to him, but Spider-Man wants nothing to do with it. He avoids him and he just you know, leaves. But obviously Peter still has his web slingers and he does know how to use them, and so he fires a web at Spider-Man and, you know, latches on for the ride, which isn't as good because he's not as coordinated anymore as he was when he had his spider powers, you know. Anyway, Spider-Man's more than a little bit annoyed by Peter's shenanigans, and so, you know, Peter's trying to get through to him, saying, we need to talk, like, there's a problem. And Spider-Man just wants none of it. He wants he doesn't care about, like, being responsible or causing the least damage as he can. He says, like, that's what damage control is for. That's I'm fighting crime, and, like, if they don't have anything to clean up, you know, they lose their jobs. Is that really what you want? And so Peter brings up the experiment that caused them to be split up, and says, it split us right down the middle, which means you apparently don't have any sense of responsibility, which of course isn't gonna bother him much, because if he doesn't have any sense of responsibility, he's not gonna take responsibility for it, you know. Anyway, we see here that obviously Spider-Man is trying to get the best out of being a superhero, you know, like deal with the money, deal with the fame of it. Like he reminds Peter, how many times have you gotten fired, dumped, publicly humiliated, and shamed? Aren't you tired of it? And Peter's like, we never did any of that for the money or the fame. It was all about trying to help people. Like, what happens when being a hero stops being fun? And so like, he says, what happens when you have to suffer something bad because you need to do what's right? And Spider-Man says, that's not my problem. And then Peter says, you realize what you're saying? Remember the last time that you said that? It was the night Uncle Ben died. But Spider-Man doesn't remember Uncle Ben. Yeah, he totally doesn't remember Uncle Ben. He's like, I'm sorry, who? And so, you know, he doesn't really stick around for an explanation, but this obviously shows more to the side effects that could be going on between Peter and Spider-Man after the accelerator incident. And so Spider-Man has enough of it. He kind of webs Peter to the wall and slings off, and so Peter's kind of just stuck there, left for, well, not left for dead. The webs dissolve after about an hour, and so, you know, this sucks. Now we see after Peter manages to get himself free, we see him meeting up with Dr. Connors, and turns out the twin mice that Dr. Connors had exposed to the accelerator and split apart have died. And turns out there's been a development in the side effects that that they've been, I guess, experiencing as a result of this experiment. The way he explains it, it says, the longer the two doppelgangers were isolated, the worse their separation symptoms became. It started out benign enough, loss of learned skills, behavioral issues, then seemed to progress to more serious memory loss, as we saw with Spider-Man. Essentially, like, what they get to is that it's like they needed their other half, and without them, they're nothing. So, obviously, Peter has bigger problems now, and he needs to fix them fast. Now we jump to Mendelstrom's workshop, where he's trying to activate another, you know, killer robot after Spider-Man took his trisentinal, and it doesn't work out very well. And he's obviously very frustrated about this. You know, he's trying to get his evil plans going and trying to get his you know, just his plans on the road, but nothing's changing, nothing's improving. He's kind of just stuck where he is until he hears a voice that promises him that you know, promising him that he will succeed, he will triumph if he makes a deal. And as he's following this voice, he finds, for some reason, he finds a giant secret room in his lab, in his own lab, and suddenly dozens of tri-sentinels are flying out from one giant sentinel. What the hell is going on? Like, where did this guy come from, and how long has he been down there? And the fact that Strom has probably been working in there for a while, that he hasn't noticed this, that it just doesn't make sense, you know? Anyway, that's the end of this issue, and things are obviously going to be getting worse, even as we see with issue 5's cover. I mean, granted, the covers haven't been as misleading as, you know, most covers are, but this one doesn't look very good, you know? But that's the end of this video. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys liked it, and if you did, drop a like, show the love, hit that subscribe button to get more of my videos, ring the bell to get notifications on when I post new videos, so that way you guys stay updated and don't miss out. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye!